In our gospel story today, it is a continuation from last week's gospel story where John was preaching new life as repentance of sins through baptism. And so today, as those who are being baptized are coming to John, they're saying, okay, now we're baptized, now what? What do we do now? And so John invites them to do two things, basically. One is to let go of those things that lead them to sin and to fill that void by looking at Christ. And so we are offered that today as well. And there's two words I'm going to focus on, and I apologize if this sounds like an academic teaching class, because that's never my intent. I'm the last person that should be doing that. But I did do some homework this week, and I looked up, because these gospel stories were written in ancient Greek, and sometimes the translation is to English is different. And so the word repentance comes from the word metanoia, which means to change one's mind. And so when we're called to a life of repentance, what we're called to is changing our mindset. So we take, so it's basically putting on the mind of Christ. And so if patience is something that we're struggling with, then we can turn to Christ and say, okay, Lord, how do you deal with those, how did you handle patience? How did you handle things when your patience was being tested? When we find ourselves judging others, we can turn to Christ and say, okay, Lord, how is it that you were not able to judge people? What did you do? What did you see in others that can help me stop from judging others? And so we're putting on the mindset of Christ when we talk about that sense of repentance. And so that's my point number one. And then here's the second point to make me look real smart. Except I'm not going to look as smart as I thought I was because I just forgot the word. But in the gospel story at the end, they use the word exhortation, and we know that in English to mean to encourage, right? Well, in ancient Greek, that word, and I don't know this is where I don't know the Greek word, but it comes from a Greek word that means to call or summon. So when John is exhorting people in today's gospel story, he's inviting them into this new way of life with Christ. And that's what this season of preparation is for us. We are being invited, we are being exhorted, not just encouraged, but called and summoned to think like Christ, to take on his mindset, to take on his heart, as we heard in that second reading. And it's a lifelong process. It would be nice if we could just turn on a light switch and it would happen, but the wisdom of God is such that it's not. He wants us to learn. He wants us to grow because it gives him a chance to walk with us throughout this season as we grow in putting on that mindset of Christ. All right.